Hey, I'm Nick with Fire Wrangler, and today we're cooking with Cowboy. We're gonna make ourselves some hot and fast pork belly. Now, this is the same cut that you make bacon out of, but it's definitely not bacon, and it's definitely not cured. This is raw pork belly. If you can, you wanna try to find the big one, the one at the store that's about 7 to 10 pounds. They run about that wide. And I like to cut them down into thirds. I don't always cook all of it at one time, and if you cook it all together, it takes a real long time. But we're gonna be cooking hot and fast today. We're on the barrel behind us. We're gonna be running about 325 to 350. And we're gonna get this on kind of like you would a brisket. I mean, it's gonna be real simple. We're putting a basic rub on it. We're gonna smoke it until it's tender. We're gonna glaze it, kind of let it work itself into a package and steam out in some foil. It's gonna be really, really killer. I'm excited to make it, but let me show you, it's real easy. Take your pork belly, take your favorite barbecue rub. Today we're using the Fire Wrangler Trailblazer rub. Give a good coat. As always, with a heavy cut of meat, you can go heavy-handed with your seasoning. There's a lot of meat here. There's a lot of fat that's gonna render out. So you wanna get that seasoning worked down in, and you definitely wanna season it up heavy. Now this is a skin-off pork belly. If you wanna find one with skin on, and go through the trouble of taking the skin off, you can. You can also cook it with the skin on, but there's a lot more steps that go into making sure that skin ends up crispy and crunchy. It's real good, but it's a lot of work. We hit the sides because we eat those too. If for some reason you decide to get one with a skin on and take it yourself, I recommend taking that skin off when it's really, really, really cold. It's a lot easier on the knife work. It comes off a lot smoother. So pop it in the freezer for an hour, and then work that skin off. Or you can be lazy and just buy one without it. The key to cooking things hot and fast is maintaining moisture in your pit. So today, we put a water pan in our barrel cooker to make sure all that humidity stays in there. We're also gonna be spritzing with apple juice throughout the cook to keep things moist. The good thing about pork belly is there's a lot of fat in it, so it's not as important on that as it is like a brisket or chicken or something that would be a little bit leaner. These are good. I would normally let them sweat out 10 minutes if you got the time, and then once you sweat them out, they'll go right on top of the pit. We're gonna put them in right now. We're using Cowboy briquettes today to fire a barrel cooker. I really like the Cowboy briquettes, and I really like using briquettes in the barrel cooker because they cook a lot more even, they hold heat a lot longer, so it just makes your cook a lot easier all the way through. You're not fighting your fire the entire time. And as always, when you're cooking on a barrel cooker, it maintains its temp very, very well. So we're kind of hitting it from both angles. A really good cooker that maintains temp, and really good charcoal that makes things real even. Along with those Cowboy briquettes, we also put some wood in there. We're using the Cowboy hickory wood to add some extra smoke. Briquettes add some really nice natural smoke on their own, but with that pork belly, I really want that smoke flavor, so we use that Cowboy hickory wood right on top of the briquettes. Adds a lot of extra smoke to it, gives it killer flavor. We'll be back. This pork belly is looking absolutely killer. The color on it's great. It's been in there about 2.5 hours. It's got a lot of smoke. Now we're gonna speed up that cook. We're gonna wrap it in foil. Now there's a trick to wrapping things in foil to maintaining your bark, because foil can tend to steam whatever you put inside of it. If you wrap it really, really tight, when I say tight, I mean push in on it, try to fill every single nook and cranny that you can with foil. It's gonna force all the juice, instead of coming out and pooling in the bottom of the foil and steaming the meat, it's gonna force it right back into the meat. You'll be able to maintain your bark and it'll still cook really fast. We're gonna put these back on the cooker until we like the temperature, which is gonna be about 210 degrees. At this point, you can also increase the temperature of your pit a little bit too, maybe give it an extra 25 to 40 degrees. It'll speed up that cook. It's not gonna hurt anything because now it's wrapped in foil. And now we wait again. This pork belly's done. We're gonna go ahead and pull it off the cooker. Again, we had it at 325 to get all that smoke in it. We cranked it to 350 after we wrapped it. And I just temped it. It's at 208, which is right where you want it to be. We're just about done, but we got one more little ingredient I wanna add, and that is half a cup of honey and 1/8 of a cup of soy sauce. I'm actually using hot honey because I just love the flavor profile. We're gonna glaze that belly up. It just makes it look so good. It adds an extra pop of flavor. It's worth the extra effort. So I like to leave it in the foil because that honey's kind of gonna run everywhere. So do the best you can to leave that foil intact. Ooh, steamy. Look at that color. Man alive, and that smoke. That's the cowboy smell right there. All right, we got our honey. Got our soy. And you also got all the juices in the bottom of this from the pork belly. So they all blend together. And you can already see how jiggly that is. That's what you want. That's when you know it's just about tender enough. If you pull your pork belly too early, it's gonna be a little tough. It's gonna have too much chew to it. You want it right before the breaking point. You don't want pulled pork, but you want something tender enough that it just breaks off even and clean. All we're doing now is we're gonna wrap this back up. We're gonna put it back on the cooker just long enough to get that to sit so it's not all liquidy. Then we're gonna slice into it. I don't wanna wait, but we got to. Give it about 10 minutes. Oh yeah. That glaze is set, that color is good. A little pork belly wave. All right, there's a couple of keys to slicing pork belly like this. One, I like to use a serrated knife. It's got that edge on it because it's gonna cut through the fat. It's gonna cut through the bark. It's gonna keep it nice and clean. Pork belly also has a grain with it, so you wanna cut against the grain so it kind of comes apart real easy. Look at that right there. Look at that color. All that smoke we were able to get into. That bark is beautiful. That fat is nice and rendered. This is gonna make some great food. I do like to slice them real thick. Because they're tender enough, you can kind of slice them thick and they hold together real well and they make a nice hearty bite. And you can use this in just about any recipe you want as a topper, as an addition, as a main side. So maybe some mac and cheese, or mix it with some rice, or put it in a steam bun. The options are kind of endless. It really just depends on how you flavored it with your seasoning from the beginning. And that's what you get when you take an awesome rich cut of meat. You put some killer seasoning on top of it and you cook it over some cowboy charcoal. Smoky, rich, flavory goodness. Right there, look at that tenderness. That's what you want on pork belly. If you want to try this yourself or other recipes that are just like it, you can hit up cowboycharcoal.com. And as always, keep cooking with Cowboy.